Alligators, absentee ballots, and the Big Bubba, Bill Clinton. There's no way that you could say Arkansas politics was boring this week. Joining me to talk politics is John Brummett, political columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. His columns appear 4 times weekly in the newspaper, with the 5th column online, plus he blogs somewhat regularly now.
On weeks
John
like
Brummett's
this,
blog.
Yeah.
Always good to have you with us.
Good
Thanks
to
for
be
being
with
here.
you.
Let's begin with the Democratic National Convention, which wrapped up this week. You had Michelle Obama, President Obama, and former Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton, obviously, some would say stole the stage almost. How big do you think Clinton's speech was? What did it do to potentially change the national picture in this election?
I thought it was massive. I'm on record saying I thought it was the best political speech I've ever heard. It connected with people in a pedestrian way that was authoritative, that was measured, that was impassioned, and it was designed after 30 years of the Republicans having most of the rhetorical advantages to really make the first hard effort to turn the deficit around and make it Republicans' fault, and to explain Democratic positions on Medicare and Medicaid and health care in ways that Obama has not, and that in fact nobody on the national scene other than Clinton is able to do. And I think it was to stir the Democratic base, to fire them up, to realize that there was a spokesman for them who could galvanize them. And then it was to appeal to the centrist swing voters out there in about 8 or 9 states. I think, even though the unemployment figures which came out the day after the convention are mixed, I think Obama's going to get 3 or 4 point jump out of this, not of his doing, but of Bill Clinton's doing. I honestly believe it was that big an event.
We'll find out. What do you think that Clinton did or said that particularly appealed to these independent voters that you're talking about?
He said, you want to know about jobs? You want jobs? Here are the facts on the jobs. Here are the numbers on the jobs. And the fact checkers haven't exactly said he had it wrong. He said if you want more jobs, there have been more jobs when Democrats have been in office since the 1960s than Republicans. Deficit, Clinton can connect dots in a way nobody else in politics can. He can take a series of political events and say this happened, causing this to happen, causing this to happen, and whether you disagree or disagree, it makes eminent sense at the time as you hear it. I happen to think it's true, but it makes sense generally. And he made the case, this deficit, this decline of our economy, this failure of our political system, this dysfunction of our economic system, it's their fault. And you need to let Barack Obama have more time to fix it, because it is better than it was when he inherited this mess from George W. Bush. I thought it was a triumphant speech. I really did.
You're obviously going to come at this with a certain partisan lens, but it obviously comes the week after the Republican National Convention.
Right.
What did the Republicans do right at their convention?
They did a pretty good job one night of bringing out people who had known Mitt Romney for a long time to say, hey, this is not the Bain Capital guy who just wants to make money and has no soul. It required them to talk for the first time about the fact that he is a Mormon. But in his church role, he has had a leadership role that has required him to do pastoral duties for people in need or people having personal crises. And I sat there and I thought, this is not bad. It's taking Mitt Romney, who seems sort of robotic and remote, and doing a decent job of humanizing. I think for his part, he came in with his speech and didn't really personalize his speech or put a great deal of himself into it, and that fell a little flat, as it did Obama's, frankly. But I thought that was one of their primary objectives, and I thought they did pretty well.
So now we've got roughly a little less than 60 days until Election Day, so this thing's really going to heat up a lot more. Yeah. The conventions are done. They typically appeal more to the base than to these independent voters, although independents can be swayed by them. Do you agree with me that I think the debates now become the potential turning point in this election?
See, this has the potential to be another Bush Gore, to be that close, to be that wild. Some civic club in Little Rock just asked me to come out noon Wednesday, the day after the election, and speak on what happened, and I said, we may not know what happened by noon Wednesday after, because it could be that close in some decisive states. 2 things to watch. The debates become absolutely enormous. I think Obama's going to have a little bit of a lead, particularly in the swing states, and will have more at risk in the debates if he is to make some sort of mistake, more for Romney to gain. The other thing is the Citizens United effect. Apparently the conservative groups are going to have tons more money outside the normal channels to attack Obama, and it's just going to be overwhelming and awesome, and we'll see if that has any effect. Is it going to be such an orgy of negativity that it turns everybody off and has no effect, or is there something that these high-spending right-wing groups can do to peel some points off Obama? It's going to be. This one's going to be one for the ages before it's over.
It's going to be dramatic.
Basically, yeah.
Let's pull all of this national discussion back to Arkansas.
Right.
What we saw in Tampa, what we saw in Charlotte, does not really change the Arkansas picture much, does it?
You know, I did an interview with, I lost his name, Fred Barnes of whatever he's with, Weekly Standard.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Obama's so unpopular in your state, but if Clinton, your favorite son, gets up and gives a great speech for him, this was some weeks ago, will that change that? And at the time I said, no, the people of Arkansas are perfectly capable of cheering Bill Clinton for making a great speech in Barack Obama's behalf and walking away still not liking or trusting or wanting to vote for Barack Obama. I did have a strange feeling in the middle of Clinton's speech. I said, I wonder if this is getting through to anybody in Arkansas, if this is swinging Arkansas in any way. Most likely not. I think we're set in our ways. We do not like what we think we know about Barack Obama in Arkansas regarding health care or remote liberalism, whatever it is the people of Arkansas have made up their minds about. I think we're about as red a state as there is in this exercise.
You've written a lot this week about the two-party growth in the state of Arkansas, and I think you said, quite frankly, one of your columns was the conversation has changed, game on.
Right.
What changed in the conversation?
Well, the Tea Party insurgents of 2010 and the continued momentum for the Republicans, and not just Republicans, but right-wing Republicans, has all been about Obama and national issues and health care reform. And then the Medicaid part of the Supreme Court ruling intensified that. The Democrats have finally decided, and Governor Beebe has acquiesced to this role, we got to make this about Beebe Democrats, not Obama Democrats. We need to engage Governor Beebe. We need to get him raising money. We need to get him speaking for our local Democrats, and they need to hatch onto his coattails and see if it's got to be better than being laden with Barack Obama. And so and then Dustin McDaniel got up at the National Convention at the Arkansas delegation breakfast and attacked the Republicans as people who want to undo Beebe's accomplishments. That's the conversation now. And if the Democrats can get that to be the conversation, if we're talking at the legislative level in rural Arkansas about cutting the grocery tax or cutting income tax for rich people or Beebe's record, instead of national issues, the Democrats can compete. And it's got Republicans a little worried. They'd much prefer to run against Barack Obama than Mike Beebe. So the Democrats are going to make this an interesting conversation.
We've got about 60 seconds left. Let's talk about one of the bigger political stories locally in Arkansas this week. Hudson Hallam, state representative from Marion, resigns over basically admitting to defrauding votes, absentee ballots. How big of an issue is this, and where does this play out now in state politics?
I think the bigness of this issue, if it's going to occur, has to do with a general theme that the Arkansas Delta is either corrupt or dysfunctional. Do you recall that most of these bogus signature issues came from Mississippi County? You know the front page stories in the Democrat-Gazette about judicial system dysfunction in Phillips County and Lee County. Now in Crittenden County, it's on the record. He's pleaded guilty. They're going around for $20 and some cheap vodka, and they're buying votes. And a man has been indicted. The Republicans want to say, the Democratic culture, which has dominated East Arkansas, is corrupt. And by the way, we need to have some voter ID to stop this kind of thing. It's a non sequitur. Voter ID has nothing to do with these sorts of crimes, but it's potentially a big political talking point.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. All right, he is John Brummett. He writes for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette as always. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.